Hi class, today I'm going to be talking about the brain and its subregions. So talking about the main regions and then again the subregions here. So starting at the green part here, that is the temporal lobe, and that's paired on the left and the right side of the brain. It's managing your emotions, processing information from your senses, understanding language, and storing or retrieving memories. So next part of the brain is the frontal lobe. That's just located in the front, so pretty easy to remember that. Same thing for the temporal lobe. You can kind of remember it's, your temple. So the frontal lobe aids in emotions, personality, judgment, self-control, muscle control, and movements. The area of the brain is also helpful in managing thinking. Fun fact about it, it's the area of study for it's aids in the area of study for mental health related field. So definitely don't damage that part. We'll probably need that. The occipital lobe, located in the back of the brain. So that is this one right here, this yellowish one. But it's ironically the visual processing of the hub. And the reason I say ironically is because your eyes are in the front and that's all the way in the back. So they must not like each other. But processing visual signals plays a crucial role in language and reading, as well as storing memory and recognition, like places and faces. Next, we have the cerebellum. It's located just above and behind where your spinal cord connects. So here's your spinal cord, but your cerebellum's over there. It's the pink looking one. It connects to your brain, to this area of the brain, and it aids in balance and movement. Next is the parietal lobe. That's up here. That helps understanding the world around you by processing your senses into a form you can use. It's kind of the main function of that. And then the last thing that I kind of mentioned earlier is your brainstem. That's the orange part here. That's composed of three parts, such as the midbrain, the pons, and medulla oblongata. And we'll get in that. That's kind of the sub parts of the brain that we'll talk about in a bit. But it's a key part in conveying messages from your brain out to your body and vice versa. Also helps regulate body functions such as breathing and heart rate. And again, kind of a lot of that stuff in the midbrain, like the pons and medulla oblongata, they kind of help with that stuff. So next I'm going to go into the sub-regions of the brain. So just starting at the top here. So I did this gray hash mark, so that's kind of like the outer brain, again, the frontal, parietal, so that's where that would be. But this is like the cross section of it. So the corpus callosum, it's kind of the top up here. It's composed of nerve fibers and that allow your left and right side of your brain to communicate. The transfer of sensory, motor, and cognitive information between the two sides of the brain. Okay, next I have what I drew down here. Hypothalamus is kind of this bottom part here, but that is a key regulator in body temperature, blood pressure, hunger, and thirst, as well as your mood, sleep, and sex drive. Next I have the thalamus, which is just above that there. That acts as the body's relay station by taking in senses, besides the smell, because that's a factory, and processing it before it's sent to the cerebral cortex for interpretation. It also plays a role in sleep, being awake, consciousness, learning, and memory. Next thing I have here is the pituitary gland. I drew it as a small little thing here. But it's located below the hypothalamus and releases hormones and controls function of other endocrine system glands. This aids in growth and metabolism. That's kind of like the bigger ones that the pituitary gland is good for. Next, that's kind of the midbrain is involved in several functions of including motor control, like eye movement and processing vision and hearing. The midbrain kind of is like that controls. That's kind of the this part of the brainstem, the pons, medulla, stuff like that. Speaking of that, the pons, it's kind of this big sac-like, I guess you can call it. But that transmits signals between your forebrain and cerebellum. This relay system holds important messages and sends them to appropriate parts of your brain. It handles unconscious processes such as sleep cycle and breathing. Again, kind of was talking about that before in the brainstem on the previous page drawing I had. And then lastly, I have the medulla, which is in this part here. It's located in the brain stem. This is part of functions and wide range of responsibilities like heartbeat, breathing, and blood pressure. So again, just kind of going back to that brain stem. So like I didn't draw it too well here, but pons would be in there and the medulla is in here. So just going back to this again. But yep, hope you enjoyed my drawing.